Welcome back. Today I have three topics I want to talk to you about. They're quick. The first one I am calling Tucker's threat to the Jews, or was it? The second one is it was just a question. And the third is heritage, more bleeding happening there. What's going to happen? So let's start with the conversation that's been going on for a few days about did Tucker make a threat the other day to Jews and what was really happening here? I have to say that Tucker is a master manipulator. No one can deny that. I don't think that is a secret to, I don't think that is a secret to his popularity. I know that is why he's so big on YouTube. He's very good at manipulating. I've never been a fan going back to his early shows on CNN and MSNBC. With all the noise and chaos surrounding him lately, I've had no choice but to take a look. As you know, there's been videos on here. I've watched a few of his interviews that have been so controversial. And of course, you see him get very aggressive with an interviewee he has a problem with, like Ted Cruz, while sitting back and allowing the most vile or insane ideas sliding by, unchallenged with others. Because he supposedly made a veiled threat at the Jews a couple of days ago, I took the time to watch much of the episode where he attacked Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro. As this was without a guest, just Tucker talking, it's a very different experience than when he has somebody with him. What I saw was a man who has mastered the ability to twist and turn his narrative all over the place to target and vilify his target, absolutely gaslighting his audience throughout his dialogue. When he wanted to attack Mark Levin, he used the Trump tactic of, who is this guy? No one even heard of him until the past year. He's some radio host guy with a weekend show on some cable channel. Really? Of course, it's laughable because Mark started at Fox in 2017 and Tucker wasn't even fired until 2023. They've known each other for years. He knows perfectly well who he is. Tucker's goal here was to diminish Levin's reach and importance, allowing him to make Levin's statements sound crazy and insane. Tucker makes an argument that with his aw shucks, I sound so reasonable shtick, that what I'm explaining is, of course, the issue, and this guy is arguing something else, making him sound absolutely unreasonable. Then he moves to Ben Shapiro, and clearly, from the get-go, you hear in his voice, he really doesn't like this guy. He clearly is mad at how Ben called him out at the Megyn Kelly event last week when she asked about Tucker's really odd concern about Maduro's values. Ben responded, who gives a shit? Of course, Ben's right. Who does give a shit if a dictator of a country supports abortion or not? Tucker then spends the next 15 minutes oddly trying to convince the viewer that Ben should somehow care about Maduro by attacking Ben for not caring about the issues that affect Americans. Yeah, it's as crazy as that. The entire discussion was complete gaslighting, twisting of facts, and weirdly trying to weave into the discussion that because Ben didn't care about Venezuela, he didn't care about the Americans dealing with real problems. I don't think I've seen anything more disingenuous and manipulative in a long time. So after watching that, I understand how Tucker has convinced himself he is not anti-Semitic. He clearly is not only manipulative of his audience, but I see a man who rationalizes to himself to get where he wants to go. But at the end of the day, in reference to the question of the day, in his reference to a supposed threat, I don't really believe it was. I listened carefully, and I can understand some who were quick to yell, anti-Semite, anti-Semite, might have heard one. But no, he was trying to make a point that real blowback could happen if people don't stop calling everything anti-Semitic. And on this, he's right. It does us no good when somebody screams fire when there's no fire. Let's move on. It's just a question. I want to... Yesterday on X and really a few other places, there had been some conversation about Tucker's son and Tucker's brother. It had come to light that Tucker's son and Tucker's brother are both big fans of Nick Fuentes, the guy who Tucker had on his show very recently. And a Jewish reporter by the name of Sloan Rothmuth sent JD Vance a tweet asking him about this. And here it is, as you can see. Sloan Rothmuth. Today we learned that Tucker's brother idealizes Nick Fuentes. Racism and anti-Semitism is a Carlson family trait. Is Tucker's son Buckley, who serves as JD Vance's top aide, also a vile bigot? America deserves to know how deep the Carlson family's ethnic and religious hatred runs. Well, I have to say, yeah, that was a little bit aggressive in her tone, no question. And she got Vance's attention, and he responded quite aggressively to her. As we know, Vance is very thin-skinned, and he really came back at her very aggressively. Sloan Rathmuth is a journalist who has decided to obsessively attack his staffer in his 20s because she doesn't like the views of his father. Every time I see a public attack on Buckley, it's a complete lie. And yes, I notice every person with an agenda who unfairly attacks a good guy does a great job for me. And this got very heated on X, and there was a whole lot of name calling and things like that. And even, again, cries of anti-Semitism, which I do think that there is some here. And I do think JD Vance has some anti-Semitism in him. But this really blew up, and this really became a thing. And the question really is, what is the story? And does the public have a legitimate right to know what somebody that's working for the VP, if their views, are anti-Semitic or not, and if they support what their father has been saying. So, it's tough, but this really blew up. All right, moving along. Last but not least, and again, Tucker's is tangentially involved here also. Today at the Heritage Foundation, McCormick professor resigned from the board of the Heritage Foundation, and this is just yet another shoe to drop at the foundation. And it's really a mess over there. Yeah, you've had everybody quitting. You've had the anti-Semitic effort completely fall apart, and nobody knows if Heritage can even survive this at this point and where this is going. David French wrote on here, I have a deep admiration for Professor McCormick. When an organization won't respond adequately to a grave error, it raises the question of whether continued presence is complicity. It's a hard line to draw, and I greatly respect Professor George for taking the stand of resigning. And then what I had read along the thing is that apparently there are two camps within Heritage, some that say that Kevin should be fired and some that say Kevin should stay. And this is my response here. It's 2 weeks since Kevin created this shitstorm. He's had multiple opportunities to course correct. He has created unknown damage to the organization he runs and is responsible for. When he sees so many important people leaving, it is incumbent upon him to stop the damage and reverse course. He refuses to do this. It's now incumbent on the board to fire him. No organization can tolerate this magnitude of damage and retain the person responsible. If he is not let go, the board is committing malpractice. I can't imagine that there are not some donors out there looking at this, thinking about taking legal action to save Heritage itself. And I think that is true. And I think that it's going to become a ugly very ugly thing if the board doesn't fire him at this point. It's too late for him to reverse course at this point. He's had 2 weeks to disengage from Tucker, to disavow himself and Heritage from Tucker. And instead, he's tied Heritage to Tucker. And of course, all this fallout's happening. And I don't even know, again, I'm going to repeat myself. I don't know if Heritage can survive this. And it's really unfortunate. I don't like Heritage. I don't like Project 2025. But you don't like to see any organization fall apart because somebody's so stubborn that they don't even understand that they, have an incumbent upon themselves, to do the right thing. So anyway, that was it. Those are just 3 things I wanted to talk about today. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share the video. It helps us grow. Subscribing really makes a difference, and liking the video really makes a difference. So I appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. That's it.
Right, Peru's nice. Look at this.